Yo, everyone. New listeners, old listeners. Why are you already laughing?
Because I don't know, I just wasn't expecting like yo.
This is how I speak. You should expect it.
I know.
You'll get there. You'll understand my weird talking mannerisms soon.
Yo. Yeah. Hey guys, what's up?
Welcome, everyone. New listeners, old listeners. If you're a part of the original 1 million, if you're in the new 1 million that's going to come with this episode, welcome. We're happy to have you. It is the now named podcast,
Yay.
Heartfelt.
Yeah.
Which I love the name. I like the album art too. Album art? Podcast art? I don't know exactly what you call it. But
yeah,
I
the
think
picture.
It's cool.
That's what I called it. Ooh, pretty.
Yeah, the picture.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm hyped. It feels like it's all coming together here. I'm excited for episode 2. I had a lot of fun episode 1. Where are you at, Carly?
Yeah, I agree. I also had a lot of fun episode 1. And I think we chatted briefly about this before we got started, that I think having fun with this is the most important thing, because I think as long as we're having fun, that keeps our vibe super high. And I feel like that means we can't do it wrong. And if we do it wrong, nobody cares.
Yeah. Besides having 2 million people listening, the stakes are not high. So
no,
we're good.
Not at all. And you know, if they don't like it, then we'll just have 1,999,999, and that's fine.
Yeah, no, that's fine too. I'll accept that. Anything lower than that, though, and then we got a problem.
It's no go.
Then we gotta, then we gotta rethink the whole thing. Sorry, my cat's playing with her really loud toy. Can you hear that or no?
No. I cannot.
Then we're good.
Yeah, it's all good. Well, mine always comes with like dog barks and like, it's just part of we call it meditating in the marketplace.
Yeah, I like that.
We bring the sound in and allow it to just be what it is. And there goes Leo.
All right, before we get into the cards, do you want to start with update? How you been? How you feeling? What's going on? Or do you want to jump right into cards? What do you feel?
Sure, we can. Yeah, let's, because we haven't caught up. So let's see. We are less than 2 weeks out from our move. And I also am flying out tonight I'm heading to the East Coast for a few days. And I'm really excited about everything. And I know that moving is usually a really stressful thing. And this is not our first time doing this, but it's fascinating because I feel like we're moving through this in such a different way than we have before. Like, and it's interesting because there's still been like all these challenges. Like, we decided this time, when we moved last time, I felt like I kind of made the mistake of only focusing on fixing up the house and getting that ready and buying the new house and packing and all those things. And I didn't leave enough space for like hanging out with people and saying goodbye, because it's a really fast turnover. Like less than 2 months and then boom, you're out. And so this time I decided I wanted to do it a little differently. And it's been funny because each time we've like left the house to go do something, one of the dogs seems to have a stress response, right? So like Leo, the first time we went out, Leo, he like shredded the couch and like part of the bed. And then after that, it was like Casey, she was sick everywhere. I'll spare you the yucky details, like all over the carpet. And then like the brand new washer stopped working, and there was like a staple in the tire in the van. And like, you know, it was like all these things. But it was so fascinating because like none of it was really a big deal. It was like before, I felt like the response would have been, oh, why is this happening to us? Like, oh, this really sucks. Oh, I'm already stressed. This is stressful. But in this case, it was very much, oh, okay, that's happening. Oh, okay, that's happening. Oh, okay, we need to add this to the list and do this now. And it was totally different. I healed the washer, by the way. So
it's brilliant.
Yeah. And been doing Reiki on the dogs and stuff. So I don't know. I feel like my personality body thinks I should be more stressed than I am right now, but I'm actually feeling pretty good about everything. I feel like we've just been in flow, and I feel like things are just kind of just unfolding really, really nicely. And it's funny because the other night that actually led to like noticing how well everything was going. I freaked out a little bit.
Wait,
And like,
what the fuck? It should
yeah,
not be
like,
this good right now.
yeah, like everything's going so great, and then I got into my head, and then it was, but
Yeah.
it happened around that full moon energy, so I think it's really useful. But
Yeah.
I'm really glad that I was able to kind of catch it a little sooner than I would have, and be like, okay, this is just some old pattern coming up, and this is like an attempt to self sabotage, and we're not going to do that this time. So it was a much faster recovery. So I was grateful for that. But yeah, so we're rocking and rolling, moving right along, just
I love that.
kicking
Oh,
ass and
yeah.
taking names.
That's incredible. I love that so much. And especially the part where you talked about that you had that moment of like, oh shit, what's going on? Why aren't I stressed? And I think often about like the word mindfulness, and the original Sanskrit word, it could also be kind of translated to like a remembering. And so I think about that of just like, it's good to have those, it not good, but like in the traditional sense, but it's good to have those moments of like stepping back into the old pattern and then like noticing it, that remembering
Yeah.
of the like, oh, this is not what needs to be anymore, right? Like this was how it felt to be like that, and to like step into that old pattern, and I don't need that anymore. And like, which, and we talked about that kind of with the basketball stuff last episode of like that contrast. And it's nice to, even though in the moment it feels like shitty, but like it's almost it's like necessary and nice to kind of step back into that just for a little bit, and then have that remembering of like, oh yeah, this isn't how I need to be, almost.
Yeah. Yeah. The contrasting experience. So I think it definitely helps for gaining clarity on, this is what I do want. This is how I do want to move through the world. Thank you so much for that noticing. Thank you so much for that grist for the mill, as Ram Dass calls it. Thank you, thank
Yeah.
you, thank you. And because that's what it becomes. It becomes, oh, look at this opportunity. Oh, there's a staple in the tire. Great. Oh, the washer's not working. Great. Oh, the dog freaked out and ate all of our shit. Great.
No,
Not great for the
absolutely,
dog, but
absolutely.
yeah. So,
No,
so
absolutely
yeah.
love
So,
that.
what's up with you? You've been on an adventure, yeah?
Yeah, I went on a little adventure. I went back home for 2 weeks, which
Mm-hmm.
is about as long as I've done since I've moved out. It's up
Mm-hmm.
there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I had like a beside after college, I'd say, but it was really nice because my sister graduated law school, and so saw the family to celebrate that. That was lovely. And then we did a family trip to Italy, which I'm gonna recall what the guides say when people will ask Paul about like a relationship,
Mm-hmm.
or like, should I date this person or should I be friends with this person? And the guides will be like, that's productive.
Oh,
That's what
productive,
this
huh?
trip was. It was productive.
Productive.
And for the uninitiated, what that means is basically it's not always a lot of fun, but
Mm-hmm.
it's really helpful
Mm-hmm.
in kind of learning about yourself and what you kind of need to move forward. And this trip was very productive. It was exhausting.
Yeah.
I mean, being with my parents, I love them to death, but they're
Mm-hmm.
in a totally different energy field, really. They're
Yeah.
like in a different way of interacting with each other, communicating with each other and me. And it's so easy. I love Ram Dass's quote, like, you think you're so enlightened, go spend a week with your family, go back
Right.
home, spend a week with your parents. And it's so easy to fall right back into that kind of old pattern.
Yeah.
And kind of like you were saying, the reverse happened to me, where I fell right back into that old pattern, the old communication styles, the losing my patience. We kind of talked about that in some ways, and it was and kind of the old power dynamics, which
Mm.
kind of inherently come with the parent child relationship.
Yeah.
And the second half of the trip, I really hunkered down and was like, I can't feel like this. Like, I love Italy. It was beautiful. It was fun, but I can't be in this energy space. Like, I can't do this anymore. This isn't how I want to live. And
Yeah.
so I really, and I want to shout out Aubrey Marcus's, that's his name, right?
Yeah.
Yes, Aubrey Marcus's podcast, and the episode he had with Peter Crone, I believe is his name. Just double checking on that. Yeah, excellent, excellent episode. Would highly recommend it to everyone. But I was listening to that, and it really dives deep into our ideas about ourself based on history and how it
Mm-hmm.
all kind of comes back to us inherently as humans having this belief that we are unloved in some way or separate from love, and we need to do something to be worthy of love and to get that
Mm-hmm.
love. And
Yeah.
so like being back with my parents, it kind of triggered that like really early programming and inherent aspects of me that denied myself love, that I denied in me of kind of being worthy and having this feeling that I needed to be perfect to
Mm-hmm.
be worthy of love, and to not have any faults, to not have any mistakes, to not be angry sometimes, to not lose my patience sometimes, to be the perfect child.
Yeah.
And that was how I was in the world for most of my life, like this idea of
Mm-hmm.
needing to be the perfect person, and
In order
was
to.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
in order to fill that hole, or to feel that love that I thought I was outside of.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things that kind of brought me on this path. I've realized over the years is like the idea that, oh, if I'm enlightened, then I'll be worthy. Then
Yeah.
I'll be the one who can show up in the ways other people need. And until then, I'm not.
I'm not
No,
worth shit.
I'm
Yeah.
not. Yeah. I'm not able to be there for other people in the way they need, or I'm not able to be the perfect son or the perfect friend or the perfect lover or whatever. And so it was a lot of diving into that, and it ended up it was very productive in that way, I will say.
Yeah.
But it wasn't always the easiest trip at times. It was lovely at times, and it was hard at times.
Yeah. No, I think that we can all relate to that. And that definitely sounds like a good episode to listen to. I know Vince loves Aubrey Marcus. And when Paul went on Aubrey's podcast, he was like, "Hey, do you hear this guy, Paul?" I'm like, dude.
You know who I think you'd like? You should check out this guy. His name is Paul.
I've been anyway. So, but back to this idea that we have to be insert the blank and then we are worthy of love. I feel like a lot of us grow up feeling like that. I know that's certainly a pattern that I've been working through. And you're always too much of something or not enough of something else. And I know that was a huge pattern for me that I've worked for. And honestly, I think that's one of the things that kind of kicked me into this too, of all the yucky stuff that I was attracting because I felt like I wasn't worthy of love as I was. And man, it certainly is a lot of work that goes into that, of just allowing yourself to, you know what? I am worthy of love, warts and all. All of these things that I perceive as imperfections are actually the opposite of that. They are, all of these things are divinity in form, but man, it takes a long time to get to, I feel like, being able to look at that or see that.
Yeah, and especially at the very personal level, at the fine grained level of like the thinking
Mm-hmm.
mind. And I realized how many of my thought patterns come from just this idea that I like needed to be perfect, right? Like this
Mm-hmm.
this notion that I had to do things right. And it's so easy for us to deny that aspect in ourselves, and it manifests in all of it. It's like a root that just boom blows out in all these different ways into
Mm-hmm.
our soil, and we don't realize how it manifests so much in the way we think, the way we act, the way we speak. And so it was an excellent podcast in that Peter was excellent at getting to the root, that root,
Mm-hmm.
and noticing that core problem that we all have. And
Yeah.
then we get to see, okay, it branches out like this, it branches out like this, okay, I think I'm like this because of that.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really helpful to me, because now I feel like I'm starting to release some of those thought patterns, release some of
Mm-hmm.
those personality ideas, which makes it lighter for me to be in the world, where
Yeah.
I'm not in a room and I'm like, okay, I have to do this thing right, or I have to be like this for those
Right.
people, or oh, I can't be tired today, or I can't be
Yeah.
upset today, and
Mhm.
just allowing the space for whatever to come up kind of come up.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. Like, as you were kind of going through that, what I got around that is energetically bringing that mindfulness to it. So, when you look at the energetic bodies, you start with your physical body and then the etheric, and then you've got the emotional, mental, and causal, right? And so a lot of those things, a lot of the reactions to the programming for a lot of us is very emotional. And so that's kind of like
Mm.
the first response is an emotional response, a conditioned response based off of these false ideas, right? And when you can lift them, that's exactly what you're doing. You're lifting them to the mental body so that you can, it first off brings a little further
Mm.
away, brings a little bit of that objectivity, and it does actually refine the frequency of it so that it is addressing it from a higher place. I know for me, when I was first starting like all the healing work that I started with my teacher Diane, I was very much living in my emotional body. Like everything, I've always been called too sensitive my whole life, which has been actually a great gift because it enables me to do the work that I do. But you have to learn how to regulate being that sensitive. And so everything for me was an emotional response. Like if I got angry, I cried. If I was sad, I cried. If I was happy, I cried. Like, it's just so many emotions happening, like so overwhelming. And it was really lifting it to that kind of mental body and being able to look at it in a different way. It really did help facilitate the healing process. So look at how awesome that is. You kind of just intuitively did it. Good job.
Well, I think that's such a beautiful way to describe it and to put context to it. I think
Mhm.
that's so smart. I love that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's interesting. I
Wild adventure.
Yeah, and especially like you were talking about with the feeling everything, just it's so funny because you came and visit and our friend Rupi and Rob and we all hung out together. And when we were all hanging out, that felt so high. I literally
Mhm.
felt the just the energy was such high energy with us and vibration, and it was beautiful. And I could feel that in the hangout. And I have noticed more that I am a very empathic person. I
Mhm.
think I've always known this in ways, but and then just stepping back to being with them, and there is a density there, and I
Yeah.
was picking up a lot of it and
Mhm.
trying to learn to just regulate that myself too. It was a learning curve for kind of stepping
Yeah.
back.
Yeah, I feel some kind of ways about relatives. But
Yeah, I think we all do.
while I appreciate the gift of them and the learning opportunities of them, I do still have feelings about them. But one of the
Mm,
feelings that is part of that is very positive. Don't get it wrong. I do love my family and I appreciate them very much. And I also
absolutely.
feel like I chose them as I was incarnating to learn certain lessons. And I didn't always choose to learn the lessons with them in an easy way. And that's okay. But from this perspective here and now, I almost feel we agreed to teach each other things in this physical incarnation. And so as I have moved away from them and as I have like really worked on this path, and as I am able to hold a higher frequency than I could or a more refined frequency than I could, I feel like it's partially my responsibility when I'm around them to do my best to hold my space, to share the possibility of that frequency with them. And
Yeah.
I think it takes a lot of work and objectivity until we can get to that point. And don't get it twisted, I'm certainly still practicing.
No, absolutely. I mean, I realized that was such a huge part of it too. And I
Hmm.
was there with them, like thinking, if these were not my parents, right? If this was not my
Hmm.
family, if these were
Hmm.
just other people, even just friends,
Yeah.
the way the things they said, the way they acted would not
Hmm.
affect me nearly as much. But
Right.
there's so much history there. And also realizing that I too have to work through and release the ideas that I've given these
Hmm.
people.
Yeah.
Because
The
at the end of the day,
expectations.
yeah, the expectations are
Yeah.
there, and that causes them to act in a certain way too as well. Like, I
Mhm.
noticed the more you expect people to do something, the more likely they're gonna confine to that. And you
Yeah.
want to give them the space, the possibility to be different, and be
Mhm.
okay when they're not as well. And that really is a practice, I think, especially with parents, at least for me,
Oh, no, I think
of
it's everybody's
really
parents.
yeah, yeah, of letting go all of the ideas and histories we have around them,
Mhm.
and forgiving, so much forgiving of them and
Yeah.
ourselves, and to create the space for them to
Mhm.
be freer, and for us to allow them to be freer. And in that, there's already a lifting. Just
Yep.
that in itself, you instantly feel there's a difference, and they're
Mhm.
allowed to be in a different way, and you allow yourself to be with them in a different way, and that
Mhm.
instantly changes things. But it's
Yeah.
not easy because there is so much history there. There's so much
Yeah.
inherent power dynamics or societal dynamics. So it's a practice. It is. And
Yeah.
that's why it was productive.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the forgiveness is a key component there, and I think that's for a lot of people really what keeps them stuck on their journeys is an unwillingness or an inability to forgive. Like when I think about my parents, I'm like, God, they were like so I'm 39, and by the time they were my age, they had 3 kids that were varying ages. Like they were young when my sister was born. I'm like, and what did they have? Like they had such limited resources and it's such a
Yeah.
dense time that they came in. And I do feel like each generation gets lighter and lighter energetically. Like look at the kids now. Like I get such a joy like watching little people now because they're such a light frequency, and I feel like the world is supporting more and more them, an allowance of them being the truth of what they are, no matter how they're incarnating. And so I do feel like when I look to the generations before mine, I do feel kind of like that sense of responsibility to hold the lightest space possible to give them permission to lighten their energy as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, no, I definitely agree with what you were saying, and
Hmm.
it's the forgiveness aspect is, it's for us first and foremost. Like we have to
Yeah.
forgive for ourselves to free ourselves first, and it can't be like a burden or kind of coercing yourself into forgiving someone. Like, oh, I have to forgive them, and you notice as you forgive, you are able to see them more objectively
Yeah.
and realize, oh yeah, they had this hard life growing up. They had these
Yep.
struggles. They have all this that they had to deal with, and they have so much trauma from their parents and grandparents and
Mhm.
generational traumas, and they're doing the best they can in so many ways, and just like all of us, and they're on their own path, and I do believe we've made agreements to be on their path as well, and to have them on ours,
Yeah.
and forgiving to free us, to free them,
Yeah.
and create that space in the relationship. So it
Yeah.
is, it's worth it.
Yeah, totally. One of the things I always that I feel like is reassuring is because we're all connected, we're working outside of time and space. Like as we heal those things in ourselves, we heal them for our family. You're talking about generational trauma. We heal it for our family, like all the way back, all the way forward. We also put it into the collective pot for other families to heal it too.
Yeah.
And so I feel like not that it's like a sacrifice because look at how much like we get from it too, but I'm definitely willing to sacrifice some of the pleasantries, I guess, in order to be able to do the hard work and heal those things, not just for myself. Like if you're worried about it being selfish, which I'm not anymore. I used to be. But, if you are worried about being selfish about spending that time and energy for yourself, like, look, you're not just doing it for yourself. You're doing it for everyone you're attached to, which is basically everyone. So good job.
No, absolutely. And I guess I also want to finish this by saying, like, saying all of this, and like 100% believe and agree with all of this, but at the same time, this doesn't mean that you have to go live with your parents again. Like,
No.
it doesn't mean that you can't also say, forgive them, let them be as they are, but also say, hey, I am not going to do a trip like this again because that was too much. And like, and
Yeah.
set healthy boundaries in ways as well. I kind of, when I was early on the path, I used to think that like, oh, I have these really strong feelings toward or against someone, so I just have to like hang out with them, be with them, punch my way through it. And then
Okay.
but that's also not helpful too. Like, it's good to reach the point you need to reach and allow yourself to learn from your relationships. But that doesn't mean you have to go spend 24 hours a day with them until you like love being around them or
No.
whatever, because there's still
No.
preference and having
You
your
can
own
love them from a
boundaries and your own
distance. Yeah, that's okay. Like
100%. Yes.
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm glad you said that because no, I did not. And God, I can't even imagine trying to live with my parents. I've been on my own
Oh
for
no, I could
longer than
not.
I haven't. Like, when did I left when I was 17. So, and I'm 39. So I think that's longer than I was with them. So there's no way I'd go back and do that. Nope.
Good news is we don't have to, Carly. We love them
Mm-mm.
from here, far away. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, healthy to set up those boundaries. What do you think? Time to pick a card now?
Yeah, I think so. And I was thinking earlier that, I don't know, this is perfect. I'm going to go first this time.
Do it.
And so
I love it.
I don't have any specific question other than wear my sunglasses, but I don't think we're going to get that from the card.
That'd be really impressive if Oracle cards were able to tell you that. I'm gonna create a deck of Oracle cards that are like extremely practical. Like, it's
Like,
one's
where's
gonna
my
be like
shit?
in the dresser. Yeah. The other one's gonna be like under the seat in your car. The other one's gonna be like take a hot bath and like
I love it. Okay, so I think we're just going to ask for support for our conversation here today and see what comes up. All right. And I'm using my favorite deck, the Wisdom of Avalon. This is the only deck that I have not packed. So maybe once I unpack, we'll switch. But for now, this one. All right, let's see what we get here. Ooh. Oh, this is really interesting. Okay, so this is the Wasp. And the Wasp is all about anger, retaliation, and jealousy.
Ooh.
Fascinating. So, it's like, okay, asking for guidance in this conversation that we've been having. So if you tie it back to what we've been talking about, so where are some ways maybe anger, retaliation, and jealousy? Fascinating.
Do you have the thing to read? I'm curious.
I do. I'm going to pull it out. So, you know, what's interesting? Like, this one doesn't come out of the deck very often. I actually haven't seen this card in a really, really long time. Okay. The Wasp has a stinger that hurts with poison when confronted. Be mindful of how you address the world when the Wasp appears on your path. If you're not careful, you may sting or be stung. The Wasp reminds you that pain is a choice, so don't waste your stinger on a petty quarrel. Are you jealous or envious, or the victim of someone who is? Jealousy and envy are the children of fear and lack. Send love, light, and compassion, and stay clear of the sting. You know what's funny? I wonder if I'm going to encounter somebody on my journeys this evening when I'm traveling who might trigger the Wasp, because as I read this, in my early days, I was really quick
I was
to
a less refined being. So you're smoking a pipe, top hat.
Yeah. Mind your own business and save it for a life and death situation. Chances are that whatever comes up today is smaller than you perceive it to be in the grand scheme of things. On the other hand, when you feel the sting of a wasp, be smart and swat it away. Defend yourself. The wasp sends an omen of warning to protect yourself as well. All right, we're going to call in some guides, angels, and helpers for this trip that we're taking today. But I do think that this is always a good reminder of, and I feel like it is pretty much in alignment with what we've been talking about. You can slide into these old behaviors, or you can choose to stay in the moment, but also have those healthy boundaries.
Yeah, it makes me think about how there were times kind of toward the end of the trip where unfortunately my family, there could be a lot of like quips, a lot of like
Mm-hmm.
little
Like
insults.
jabs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
jabs, a lot of jabs.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point toward the end of the trip, I was just like, I can't give this energy anymore. It's too exhausting to even bother trying to be upset with it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was easier because there was still discernment of, okay, when do I need to say something because I don't
Mm-hmm.
I shouldn't be spoken to like that, or that's not the time for that type of communication or whatever, or that's not a helpful way to speak to me or others. But there was a lot of, okay, realizing that these are just communication habits, and I don't have to take all of it personally or get upset
Mm-hmm.
by all of it
Yeah.
or give it that energy. And a lot of it is just giving it that energy, that mental energy, even of, oh, what the fuck, or like getting into
Yeah.
the why they say that, or should I say
Mm-hmm.
something back, or and just getting into the habit of giving that energy. And then when I kind of step back from that, I was able to have more energy, and it made me more patient and less reactive.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it also loosened the tension that just naturally kind of
Ah,
winds in those sorts of situations.
yeah. Interesting. Hmm. You talking about your family makes me think about my family. And my family, everybody's very sarcastic. And
Mm.
when with not a high form of humor. And when I got really good at it.
Yeah, yeah.
But I feel like sarcasm, it has a tendency, kind of like the jabs you're talking about, has a tendency to kind of hurt people's feelings. So that was one of those things that reminds me of this too, is I don't know if there's going to be an opportunity for me to slip back into the sarcasm, but that's, I feel like, a warning for me of notice when it starts coming out, because that's not how I want to be in the world. Like, sure, it's fun, and sure, it's entertaining to be quick-witted, because and that was yeah, I guess a characteristic that was always valued in my family, but that's again not like, I don't want to be
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, and I know
No, no.
yeah. So
100%.
hmm,
I definitely relate to
interesting.
that, and in the same sort of way of being back in that old relationship and seeing some of the ways in which I like had those sarcastic jokes, those quick wit. I'm just naturally an extremely funny and witty guy, and I'm like of high intelligence, and so it just comes
Yeah.
so easy to me to just
Yeah.
reel them off. Just bam, bam, bam,
Yep.
bam, bam.
Yep. Yep. Me too. I just didn't want to sound. I'm glad you said it. Like, I'm wicked smart, and it's really easy for me to be a sarcastic ass, but I don't want to come across like.
But yeah,
But it
humbleness
is, you know.
aside, it is easy to like fall back into that communication style and that joke
Mm-hmm.
style. But I also realized, yeah, it was hurting both the relationship, the tension, increasing that tension level, and it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't helping me. Like
Right.
I'd throw in a zinger, and it's not like the crowd's like, "Ooh, yay!" Ha, 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 ha. Like in the background, like there's no one there. It's just me and this other person, and me like kind of hurting their feelings a little bit. Oh, and it's
Yeah.
like you don't get any trophies for that. Like there's
No.
no comedic awards here.
No, but it definitely
And
feeds the ego.
yeah, yeah, which isn't great either. It's not a fun
Mm.
practice. I mean, it is fun, but not a good fun.
It's the wrong
So
fun.
yeah, exactly. So I totally relate to what you're saying there. I definitely agree with that. It's interesting.
Hmm. It, I think it's your turn.
It's my turn. All right.
Yeah.
I already shuffled, so I'm gonna give it energy and pull the top card of the deck here. I'm going with future guidance. What do I
Okay.
got to keep in mind for the future here? All right,
Nice.
I'm gonna pull it, and I'm gonna chill this deck for a second. We got Whispers of Ganesh by Angela Hartfield. Absolutely love this deck. It's gorgeous. It's so on point. Always absolutely love this deck. So I'm gonna pull the top card here. Ooh, fuck! This is a beautiful card. I got Enlightenment. That's a pretty high bar right there. Like to be like, hey, what's coming for the future? Enlightenment. Oh yeah, cool. All right.
No big deal.
I know better of myself to expect to be enlightened tomorrow, but this is a gorgeous card.
Right.
I'm excited to see. I'm loving the purple. I'm loving the purple.
Yeah, me too.
All right. Enlightenment. Connect to your true source to manifest your desires. The color purple is associated with being art, creativity, and spirituality. It is considered a color of honor, courage, and is sometimes associated with royalty. Ganesh is sharing the purple hue to assist you with your spiritual journey inside yourself. By connecting with him in this energy, you'll be redirected back to your true enlightened nature. The crown chakra is the purple chakra that is connected to your well-being in mind, body, spirit in this life and beyond. All energy blocks keep you from connecting to your true source. Set a clear goal of how you would like to connect with your higher self. I like that. You may choose to be a healer or to practice a specific modality such as Reiki. Okay, that's hilarious. Let me bring that up in a minute. You may simply choose to meditate. Everyone has psychic ability and a connection to the divine. Mm-hmm. Open yourself up consciously to opportunities that will help you reach your goal. To really enjoy living life on Earth, the more you can do to release the limiting programs and emotional patterns, the more quickly and easily you will manifest your desires. You can create the life as you intended. Choose to live life fully and achieve real enlightenment, where all things are possible. I love that.
Yeah.
I think that also relates a lot to our conversation, especially the end about like releasing limiting programs and emotional patterns. That's just, we talk so much about that. But I think it's funny that they specifically mention you may choose to be a healer or to practice Reiki because Carly is my Reiki teacher here and a very incredible one as well. Highly recommend for anyone out there interested in learning. And I've been practicing a lot more recently and also having this feeling, this desire to start my own practice. And I don't know how the way your face just lights up there.
I love it. Well, you know why. Like, I love Reiki because I feel like everybody who is attuned to Reiki is just constantly painting the world with light with every footstep they take. And why would we not love that?
Yes. No, I agree. And I feel like, especially in the last kind of times I've done it, Reiki has allowed me to connect to intuitions and to like a lifting that's been very helpful. And I want to try and figure out how to set up my own sort of thing, but I don't know in which ways that may form now. And that was almost a question I had going into this of like, should I do something with Reiki? So I feel like I kind of got a confirmation there, which is nice. So I'm going to right now give it to the universe. I'm interested in having a Reiki practice. Help me set up whatever this may look like for the highest and best of all involved. And we'll see what happens.
So be it, and so it is.
Exactly. Yeah. It will be so.
Yeah. So a couple of things about that. Number one, yes, I love this for you. And number two, when you bring your closest confidants in on your intentions, like, I feel like I've gone back and forth on like, what to do with intentions, right? Like some people say, keep it very close and don't share it with anyone because otherwise you let the magic out. Other people say, tell it to everyone because then you can have more people helping you. I think I fall somewhere in the middle where I feel like when you're setting your intentions, we like to bring our closest confidants in with those so that you have people who are supportive of you, people who love you, who can help amplify your intentions. So, for example, I'm part of an earth healing group, there are 7 of us. And so what we do is we exponentially charge each other up. We like do this fun kind of meditation where we go up into the upper levels and we power each other up. And so, and there's another meditation group I'm part of that we connect so that we amplify the power that we're bringing in with the meditation. So
That's beautiful.
that's why I align with your intention, and we so be it, and so it is, so that I can exponentially help to boost the power on your intention. So I know that's like totally off topic, but there you go.
I loved it. I loved it.
So, and I love that you're being very flexible with what it's going to look like, because I feel like when we try and dictate what it's going to look like, we really, really do limit source. And that's us saying, I know better than the whole entire universe on what this should be. And again, anytime that word should comes up, that's the personality body, the ego, the solar plexus doing the talking. So I love your flexibility for it. And I intend for you that it unfolds in a very easy and beautiful way.
Well, thank you. Thank you. No, I do try and remain as flexible as possible with all kind of life stuff. And I find that's the easier way to be in the world, and the way in which you're in receipt. And because again, like the should is being in lack, which I keep learning more about what does it mean to be in lack. And the should is being in lack because you're demanding a thing as if it doesn't exist, or that you have to like grab it. And in the openness and the flexibility, you're saying this thing already exists in some form. This thing is already here. In which ways can I step into it, and can it be received, and that alignment to kind of be moved into, and that to just occur. And I find it's both easier on me because then I don't have to stress about like, how is this thing going to happen? How is this going to get done?
Yeah.
And it's also better going back to our first episode about surrender, in which I surrender the outcome, and the outcome's always better and different than I would have thought of or could have conceived of if the ego was like, okay, I need to have the penthouse suite with surround sound windows to do my healing on the world celebrity or whatever.
Yeah. That's funny. I feel like this brings us back to the wasp too, because the wasp is very much a personality body kind of expression, anger, retaliation, and jealousy. When we try and dictate the terms of things, then it'll make space for our inner wasp to come out. Especially when those things don't unfold like we think they should. That can lead to wasp-like energies. So, how about that? Tying it all back it's like the rug that ties the room together.
I love it. I love it. I don't know. I've always liked wasps. I mean, they're a dangerous animal, but there's something about them that's very like, seems precise.
I feel that way about Tool and their music. They're very precise.
Very different. Very not expecting any of that at all.
Yeah, okay, I know.
That just happened. So I also think it's interesting here where it says, all energy blocks keep you from connecting to your true source. Set a clear goal of how you would like to connect with your higher self. I think that's interesting because often when I think about moving to the higher, it's almost like having no goals, or I guess it's more of having no expectations. But I like the idea of setting up goals in almost like a foundation of a practice of like, my goals or foundation is to spend time in stillness, or to Reiki, or to allow myself to be in this state of consciousness where I'm not stitched to my thinking, where I'm aligned to the present moment, or I'm here and focusing on this and not that. I think that's a helpful idea for me, as opposed to maybe at times being a little bit more loosey-goosey with it of, okay, maybe I try this now, maybe I try this now, I'm going to do this now, I'm going to do that now. Whereas, especially now where I feel like I'm opening up to a lot of different ideas and modalities,
Mm-hmm.
where I can kind of leapfrog from one to another to another,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a good idea and nice to set some clear ideas and intentions and foundations of what I want to practice and where, and how that will be best, what practices will be best for my alignment moving forward, and setting that consciously, and then allowing the flow and the ebbs to kind of
Hmm.
push and pull where I need to be.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm like, where do I fall on that? Because I don't know, like I just have an expectation that because I'm primarily working with clients. So when I'm working with clients, I'm absolutely getting connected. And I just have the expectation that I'm connected. And then like I do my things that I do, which pretty small ritual at this point. Is I call in the whole team, and then I just kind of take a minute and center. And then I just assume that we're just going to be connected. And it's interesting because I'm like, what am I doing? Am I doing something, or did I have a practice that led way to it just being kind of a natural thing? Like, am I
Mm.
connecting naturally and easily? I'm hearing sometimes yes, but other times I'm really having to still work at it. Okay. So it would be beneficial. But it's funny, like when you talk about like creating structure for yourself, I just am like, like, none of that for me, please.
That's funny. I'm normally 100. I hate structure in my life. I hate having having things on my calendar is annoying to me. Like
Oh,
I don't
okay.
like having a time to where I have to do something,
Oh, okay.
which is interesting. But I've found that I've recently traveling so much.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually gotten. I'm kind of the person where I can go somewhere for a week and then I like to have a month at home. And I like to have a routine in that I have my time to go to the gym. I have my time to meditate. I
Mm-hmm.
have my time to do my work. I have my time to relax and read or whatever. And that I really like the foundation of me having time to do these things that I want to do, and I know that like benefit me, but it's
Mm-hmm.
almost very wide open in which I can do those things. Like I
I
have the
gotcha.
day to day to like, I know I want to meditate, I know I want to hit the gym, I know I want to do this, but the
Mm-hmm.
order in which I don't want times to do those though.
I get
Like
it.
I don't
I
want to
used to be like
set
that.
time for
Yeah.
that.
It was interesting when I first started running my first business. I had a lot of resistance to the scheduling of things. Now
Mm,
I'm very heavily scheduled, and it's because I'm working with so many clients every week. I have to be heavily scheduled. But what's interesting is the first thing I put on the schedule is my time off, my workout time, my those kind of
yeah,
things. So instead of the approach that I used to take was fitting those things in when I could, but then I found everything else overrode all of those times and I wasn't getting them in. And then I just
right.
flipped it. And once I flipped it and I started doing that, like I am still kind of with you there with I still have that rebellious spirit of don't tell me what to do, which is really where that came from for me. I was like, don't tell me what to do, even if it's me telling me what to do. I was very much
Yeah,
against
yeah.
it. Yeah, like screw you, I do what I want. I'm not sure which. I think really what shifted that was when I started building my client base more and more, where I have to have that schedule. But I don't know, just like everything else, I feel like my relationship to it is much different than it used to be. So I guess I am still kind of doing the things. And it wouldn't hurt for me to block some time out on my calendar for those things now that I talk about it. uh, hmm, interesting. So now what? So now that you're home, now that you've been working through these kind of challenges with your family and you've been very productive with that, what do you want to do with that?
I think it starts for me with stillness. I think I
Mm-hmm.
need to sit in stillness and kind of allow myself to absorb what I learned,
Mm-hmm.
allow the old to get released, allowed the new energy to move in, the old energy to move out, and to slowly allow myself to ease and relax into life in a way that I wasn't before. When we have these old patterns, they're like little balls of tension in our body
Mm-hmm.
that keep us from relaxing. And especially that one where I felt like I always had to do things right.
Yeah.
That kept it in my brain, this always this little tension of the present moment and what I was doing versus what should be.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a hard place to be in a lot of ways because I never felt relaxed,
Mm-hmm.
like really relaxed. And this kind of goes back to the basketball. It's like the epitome of that, of like, I can't, I have to do things right. I can't do them wrong. And I'm so clenched. And it's very hard to let energy flow, to be when you're in that state. And so, what?
I'm sorry. Like, so what relax your butt cheeks and the energy can flow easier.
No, you're often very insightful, Carly. Often.
Well, you
Not
know what?
always, apparently.
No, but seriously, if you think about it though, like if you're constantly like gripping around these things, it's no wonder you're getting energy stuck in your body, like all of us,
No,
right? So we
absolutely.
really do have to. And it was just a funny visual because that is what I saw, you actually relaxing your butt cheeks. So apparently you walking around with your butt cheeks clenched up.
I think I might have to edit that out. I don't know if I want people to know that I'm walking around with clenched butt cheeks. Jesus. Oh boy. No, I do agree. And you know what? I just did a meditation where you have to like crunch over and scrunch your body
Mhm.
and try and breathe.
Mm,
And it's like try and breathe deeply like that when you're like scrunched and all, and you can't do it and you
yeah.
don't feel good. And then okay, like open up, take that deep breath, see
Yeah.
how
And
that
the energy
feels,
moves through a lot
see where you
easier.
can be. Yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. And so I think that was a big shift for me. And so now sitting in that stillness, allowing myself to be in this state of not worrying anymore of what's
Hmm.
right, what's wrong, because I also realize that's nonsense. Like no matter what I
Yeah.
did, someone's going to find a way to get upset with me if they want to. Like
Hmm.
it doesn't matter. And so moving into that state and being in that state and then allowing, I think when I'm there will be an openness for new energies to come in. And I feel like new intuitions and opportunities that weren't quite allowed to move through before.
Yeah.
And I think there'll be an opening, an opportunity for that. So that's where I feel like I'm at now.
I love that. Look at how productive that was for you. Good job. How exciting.
Yeah. It was
Yeah, I
exhausting
feel
at the
like,
time, but
yeah, I can imagine. Visiting with your relatives usually is. It's just part of the family package, which is why it's so fun that like once we're adults and we're out in the world, we can kind of pick our new family, like pick the people that we hang out with and the people we spend time with and create our own kind of environment and group of energy that we get to work in. So,
100%. And it really made me appreciate that, the new people I have in
mm-hmm.
my life. And I'm lucky to have a partner and really appreciating the relationship we have, the communication style we have,
Mm-hmm.
the ways in which our relationship is in a lot of ways the opposite
Yeah.
of those family things that I didn't want. And it also makes me appreciate the ways in which I've been able to move past that family and the history. It's not just the family, it was friends, it was all the
Yeah.
history that is accrued in the relationship aspects that where it's easy to hold on to and perpetuate that in future relationships. And it was nice for me to appreciate, okay, I haven't done this, I have given myself new opportunities to be with other people, to be vulnerable. And actually during the trip I was having a few hard days, and she told me, she was like, it feels like you're like shutting me out a little bit. And I was like, you know what? You're right. I am. And I feel like it's because I don't trust myself now to like be the
Mm-hmm.
right way with you and to like kind of open up
Yeah.
about this stuff. And then when I was able to do it, it was healing for me as well, like being able to do that. And I think that only helped our relationship too. So to your point, 100%, I think that was nice being able to see that contrast.
Yeah. Good for you. I love that for you.
What about you? What's before we end here? Where are
Mhm.
you at? What's your future? What's your future practices and aligning going to look like?
Yeah, I think especially because I am traveling this week and then I come back and we have a week and then we move. I think it could, if I'm not aware, I think it could be easy to fall into old patterns of stress reactions. And so I think for me, it's very much a practice of mindfulness, and it is very much a practice of continuing the surrender, because I think that's been the thing that we've been doing really, really well with this, and continuing the allowance of being in flow. Because man, when we do that, like especially when Vince and I like do it together and we hold
Yeah,
that space together, like all of the things that it's wild. It just how it just kind of falls into place. Like it it's just I'm like
yeah.
actually
No,
literally
absolutely.
speechless at how well everything is just kind of like falling into place. And then whatever concerns we did have, we allowed ourselves to kind of put those on the back burner. Like the cost of living there is even more than it is here, and we were like, well, I guess we got to make more money. Well, he picked up senior chief, and then I'm getting new clients, and then like, and I'm like, oh, and then this wild crazy thing is happening with the renting of the house. She listed it for way more than we thought she was gonna, and we got all these applications, and we're like, oh, that's I guess that's another way to there are people excited about renting the house. And so I'm like, I'm just gonna not do anything. I'm just like, right, like we've got some really great momentum going. We're just gonna keep that up, and I'm gonna do my best to
No,
stay in flow.
I saw you like light up when you said that too, of just like, oh, how well everything's working. Like, yes. And it makes me think about I did a it's called the Porsche driving experience in Atlanta. And
Hmm.
it's one of my favorite things ever. They basically give you a Porsche and you rent
Hmm.
it. And for an hour and a half, you're basically allowed to just be a race car driver. You just race
Ooh.
this Porsche around the track, and you have a driving coach with you. So they have all these different cool things, but the track was my favorite. And my first driving coach was excellent. And we were doing all these track runs, and you start at lower speeds, which is still very
Yeah.
high speed, you're using a Porsche,
Mhm,
but then
mhm.
you slowly layer in more and more speed. And what he told me after, I it's something I think about all the time now. He was like, you drove excellent at the normal speeds, but as we started
Mhm.
layering more speed, you started like second guess yourself, or do the things
Oh.
that like normal drivers do that you don't do as a race car driver. And
Mm,
he was like, and this is a big problem for most drivers, is as they get higher up, or as they get higher in the racing or layer in more speed, it's like, remember what got you there. And I think
mm.
about that a lot. Just like, remember what got you there. Like, things are going so well, and it's like, and then sometimes like maybe one thing goes wrong, or you then think like, again, like, the,
Oh,
oh shit,
shit.
everything's going so well, like I gotta start panicking. But I think about that all the time, like, the remember what got you there. Remember what
Yeah,
got you there. And
yeah.
so it made me think of that, and I love that
I love
quote.
that. Yeah, no, thanks for sharing that, because I think that's gonna be a good reminder. And it is. This is a at this point, this is just kind of a fun game and a practice of, okay, let's see how well we can just hold the space, and how well I can just stay in the moment, because when I can stay in the moment, it's great. Like I'm not worried about anything. It's when I
Yeah,
start trying
yeah.
to get ahead of myself that I get a little panicky. And I think that I'm not alone in that, which is why I share.
No, not at all. Not at all. 100%. All right, I
So
love it. Any final notes you want to end on before we get out here?
no, I think this is a lot of fun, and I really enjoy doing these, and I hope our bajillion and 5 subscribers love them as well. And if you do love this, make sure you share with your friends and like it and subscribe to it and leave us some comments, and yeah. That's what I got to say.
Yeah, all of those things, 100%. We're on YouTube if you want to watch visually. We're also on all of the big podcast hosts if you want to listen auditorially. Carly, this is so much fun as always. I don't think I have any additional ending notes here, other than I'm going to have some loose butt cheeks this week.
That's what I wanted to say for my final comment, and then I was like, Tom might edit that out.
I saw you laughing, and I knew that was what you were thinking. I just knew it. I really did.
I mean, we're all psychic.
Sometimes for better, sometimes for worse.
Awesome.
All right, well, thank you so much for listening. Carly, it's been fun. I will see you again in probably like a couple of weeks, maybe a little later with moving. So yeah, I'll see you again soon.
Sounds good.
All right, peace, everyone.
Bye.